In this video, we're going to expand the functionality of our LinkedIn post generator from a previous video by giving our users the means to log in, summarize various file types for their prompts, and giving ourselves an admin panel to be able to manage configuration documents. By the end of this video, it's clear to see that this could be a winning SaaS with the ability to make some serious money. We're going to continue on, and we're going to actually add in a login and auth system, and we're going to use something that I haven't used before. I typically prompt the AI to create a login system, and then I work with it from there. But we're going to use a new feature that is within Replit, which is their auth, to let users log in your app using a pre-built login page. So I actually haven't used this before, so let's see what happens when we jump into this. So this is my first time getting into this. I usually walk through it with the AI, but let's see what we got here. Okay. Send message in current chat. Okay. Looks like it's just, oh, all right. Just gave me a little prompt there to get me started. Appreciate it. Let's see what it generates here. This is probably pretty much the same thing I would use before, unless this is some sort of pre-built thing that Replit looks for with this prompt in particular, but let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so after this prompt that we have here, the add Replit auth to my app, it actually did a lot and it worked for a while. So it probably modified our database here. So here's our uploaded files still. So it did, looks like it probably did some stuff here in the users table. It didn't add a user because we haven't made a user yet. So it is asking me to republish, probably because of production database settings. Okay, we're not worried about that right now. I have some fixes here. Interesting. Okay. And it's made some auths here, auth classes with Replit, and added some routes. So that has to do with our backend and how it communicates with it. So it's essentially started, as you can see, an API, which is going to be the routes to communicate with our backend. Let's see here. It also as our front end changes. So this is really nice what it did with our front end. So it improved this quite a bit. So this is really nice. It's a nice landing page. Get started for free. Cool. Have that button there. And it actually takes us to this Replit auth page. This looks a little intimidating. May have to mess around with that a little bit. So I like kind of a more cleaner auth page. That looked a little intimidating. So here we got a little explanation of our application. You can see now we actually can't get to our application anymore, right? So we need to actually hit the sign in button now to actually get to it, which takes us to the intimidating login. We'll look at that in a moment. So we have a lot of great changes that have happened here. And here's, the modern design, front end changes. So let's see about changing this login page to make it look a little less intimidating. This is interesting because I don't like this at all, because if you exit out of this and log out, at least I think this is, there we go, log out button. I asked the agent, which you can do down here, plan to ask questions about your work, which, by the way, you would think that would maybe be free. It is not. You can see that down here. It cost me 52 cents to ask this question, which I probably could have figured that out for myself. Let's go back to the build option. But when you sign in with Replit auth and hit login, it does give you this pop-up about the Replit, which again, don't really like how this looks. It looks intimidating. So you use the Replit login. I don't like that at all. So that means a new user would have to create a Replit account in order to use this application. That is something we want to avoid. If it was like a Google login or a GitHub login or Facebook, that's fine. But in terms of our application, we just want people to be able to sign up with an email and password for now and add in other authentication methods later. So one of the things that it says here is You can remove authentication entirely, which is what we had in the beginning, or we can do traditional email and password sign up. So I'm actually going to copy that, and I'm going to say remove the Replit login or Replit authentication. I want to just use traditional email and password sign up for now. So let's see what it does with that. And we can see if it removes the Replit authentication and sticks with a more traditional email and password for now. And we can add in other authentication methods later. So the agent's work is done, and it did quite a bit. So if we go back to our main page, I was poking around in there, but it actually worked for over 16 minutes on this, which can kind of add up in terms of cost, if I'm totally honest with you. But it got rid of the Replit authentication, replaced it with email and password, kind of a real typical kind of login system. And if we hit sign in here, oh, I don't have an email and password, so let's sign up. My first name, last name, email. And for password here, let's, nope, not going to go with the suggestion here. Oh. Okay, something's not rendering there correctly for me. Put in that, create account, email or email already in use. Yeah, it's probably because of the past authentication we had there with Replit. So if we go back to database, but this is not giving me the actual user. So let's use I'll just use a different email. Let's just do that. I was going to ask the assistant to help me out and clear that out, but I'll use a different email here. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Okay, so we're logged in as another email here. And now I have access to the application as we did before with the Replit authentication. But now we can continue on and have our application now be locked down behind a login wall, which is great because if we log out here, hit that log out button, probably add some text on for that one. I think it's working here. Well, maybe the log out button is not working. It doesn't look like it's refreshed here. Let's refresh the page. So I don't know, maybe the log out button refreshing wasn't working, or I'm just not being patient. Okay, I've got my password manager is kind of getting in the way there. I've not seen that before, so it's bugging out here a little bit. Yeah, we can... Actually, that's probably going to conflict with some other applications I have, so I'll change that later. Yeah, so it looks like this logout button is not working, so let's fix that with the assistant. Wanted to do it along with the icon. Okay, have the assistant work on that and see what this comes up with. Actually, it was my mistake. It was logging people out, but it wasn't refreshing the page. So it is going to make that change here with the assistant, which you can see that was much faster. So that's cool. All right, let's give that a try here. Usually when you make changes like that, it logs you out. So you kind of have to log back in here. Grabbing some information here. Sign back in. Cool, we got all our login buttons. See what happens when we click it. Perhaps we need to say it needs to refresh the page, because if we refresh the page, yeah. Please refresh the page after clicking the logout button. Let's see what it did here in code. So set location, window location. Okay. Surprised it didn't do it off of that, but let's give it another test. There we go. Much better, just one liner there. So we're back to that. Test it with sign in again. Great. And we're back into the application. Very cool. Okay, now that we're logged in, we're going to update this upload context files box. I wanted to have another piece of functionality, which is to summarize a post, so a prompt here to generate the post. So I want to be able to drop in a document, send it up to ChatGPT, and then it's going to summarize it, and that summary for the post is going to end up in this box. So let's expand on that. I'm actually going to use the assistant for this. Let's try to see if we can get the same result without using Agent 3. I've been seeing that there's a lot of cost with each of these prompts, so I want to see if using the assistant is going to be better. This wasn't like this before. This Agent 3 update has just been a huge cost increase. I'll be completely honest with you guys. So I'm going to try the assistant, which is significantly cheaper, and let's see if it can handle it. So we're going to expand the file drop functionality to handle a document to summarize it for a LinkedIn post. And let's have two buttons appear when a user drops a document on the file drop, one for context, which we already have, and then another one, use to prompt, which after clicking use to prompt, it will send that document to OpenAI's API to summarize it. And then the result should populate in the create your post text box. So let's give that a try. Let's see what the assistant does. Let's see how it grinds on it and see if it can handle that. I mean, it sounds like it's a big change because I explained it a lot, but it's really not that big of a change. But it is going to make a new call using the routes that we have, and it's going to send a file to OpenAI's API to summarize that document. So it looks like it's changing the file upload file, which you would expect. It's doing a little change to the home page, which you would expect for the button to make that additional button in the file drop. It's making some changes in the routes, which is the routes to our backend. And I actually forgot a detail in there, which is to not have it added to our database. So I'm a little bit worried about that it's going to add a file to our database, and don't believe it is off of that code. And then it changed the Open API functionality here to send it to OpenAI. And we're actually going to expand this to summarize images and audio files. So it'll have to send a file stream up to OpenAI's API. So we'll make that change next. But let's see how this goes. Funny thing is you look at the code and it's not like you can really change it. You kind of have to accept those changes. And if you were going to make changes to the code, then you'd have to open it up here and make changes to the actual code, which we're not doing. We're kind of relying on the the AI for that. So if it did make a mistake, we would just reprompt it and say, hey, take that functionality out, or hey, you did this wrong, much like what we've done in the past. I'm not really looking to dive into code and making manual changes. That's not what this channel's about. So let's see what happens here when we drop in a file. I want to make sure that those changes got applied. So I have a press release here from Game Monument. That's nice. Look at that. Used a prompt. That's cool. Or we can add it to context. And we're going to probably make some changes to the whole context functionality. I did a little bit of research on that. We'll see if we'll get to that in this episode. If not, we'll get into the next. But I have a press release document from Game Monument here, my other SaaS that I have talked about before, where it enables game developers to sell in-game monuments to their player base. It's a marketplace, and it's also an SDK to implement into people's video games, game developers' video games, because I am a game developer myself, but have now gotten it more into AI, SaaS, and automation. So let's see what happens here when we do used prompt. Well, it's interesting that the other button said process, document processed. Woo! Look at that. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. It looks like it made a post off of that, which is, we can take that and then we can see what happens with the generate content here, which we'll do. Let's see what happens. Exciting news in the gaming world. Game Monument has launched a groundbreaking platform. So maybe this is a good summary. I mean, this is close. Just quick glance here, quick read. I mean, this does expand on it a little bit more. But, because it added these hashtags and all that, this just kind of looks like a short LinkedIn post or post in general. So that's not exactly what we're looking for. So maybe I just need to change a little bit of that. So when we looked at this code, I did know, was it this one? Yeah. So this is a prompt that it's actually giving you. So this is something I'm going to get into later about role system versus user. User is your prompt. And this is the JSON that it is producing. And this is obviously hard-coded into the code of what it's doing. So this... it says engaging prompt that can be used to generate a LinkedIn post. Okay, well, I mean, it did keep to that direction, but it added a bunch of hashtags, so we could refine this a bit more. Key themes, clear directive, return only the prompt text, nothing else. Analyze this document and create a LinkedIn post prompt, trimmed content. So if we look at trimmed content, that's being sent in as an argument to this method. So that's being chopped somewhere else or loaded in somewhere else, which is probably part of the file upload. So if you look at the file upload, yeah, that is selected. So that is uploading. I don't know if I'm totally missing it, but I'm not seeing where it's sending that over. But the document is being sent over to the Open API TypeScript function summarize document here. We can copy that. Now let's dig into this. Why not? Here, let's open up the file upload. And it may not be happening there. This is just me messing around, just trying to find where this function is being called. Routes could be part of the backend code here. Summarize document, await summarize document. So here it's actually making the call to the Open API or OpenAI API. Parse file, await, parse file. Yeah, since this is part of our backend route. So the backend route's being called, and then it's actually doing all of the functionality that we're looking to have done, where it's uploading the file and then sending that to OpenAI API to not only summarize it, but then put it into the prompt text box here. So, I mean, this could be cleaned up a little bit, like with removing these hashtags and stuff and such. Let's make that change. Make sure the summary doesn't have hashtags. This would be a change to telling OpenAI API to not include hashtags. So pretty easy change. The assistant will have no trouble with that. It likely will just change the hard-coded text that it has. Yep. Do not include hashtags. Yeah. Very simple little bullet point that it added to its instructions. Go back to the assistant. Let's apply that. Okay. It's refreshing our preview. I'm surprised it didn't log me out. Usually when it refreshes the preview, it logs you out. Okay, so we lost our prompt there, which is fine. Let's drop in our document, use the prompt. Great. So no emojis, no hashtags. That's great. I did not say the emojis part, but we could try that with some other tests. Crafted LinkedIn post introducing Game Monument, a groundbreaking platform that allows players to leave personalized digital legacies within their favorite games, highlight benefits, create revenue streams. Yeah, that's nice. So this press release document, why not? I'll show it. Not a big deal. Not that one. So this is a press release that I put together for Game Monument. Not too lengthy. But I thought it was a good example to have that be a summary. But that could be a very real use case that either yourself or a user of your SaaS would actually use for building out a prompt. So this is a really good use case. We really want to act like a user when we are building out these types of products, how people would use them, either ourselves or other people. And I would actually do that for a press release for LinkedIn for a particular piece of SaaS software, be it if it's Game Monument or something else. So it's actually a really good use case. Okay, so we sent that in, and I think it came up with an even better, well, at least more lengthy post here. So introducing Game Monument, a revolutionary platform that empowers players to leave personalized digital legacies within their favorite games. It's a good starting line. Goes through some benefits, continue to push the boundaries of gaming, encourage fellow professionals in gaming industry to explore this innovative integration. Nice. I like this. This is great. Let's continue on expanding out this great piece of SaaS software that we're building out. We're going to continue the file drop functionality for summary to include images and audio. So we're going to go with the assistant again, and we're telling the assistant just to expand the file drop functionality to include images and audio. But don't let images and audio be included in context files. That's an important exclusion. We only want text documents to be included in the context files. So let's see what it comes up with here. So it's going to change our file upload code to 2 lines. Now I'm curious. Okay, so it just included these file types. Okay, that might be good enough, so it doesn't have to change the file stream too much. It's changing our routes, changing the MIME types here. Okay. And allowed types includes these. Okay. And now it is changing the OpenAI TypeScript file. Looks like, okay, summarize audio. Okay, we have a summarize audio function, which is probably pretty close to what we're already doing with the summarize. Okay, summarize image. And then this is a diff, so it's not actually including the entire class, but the summarize document is part of this too. And for all you software engineers out there, you're probably thinking, hey, this thing is really violating a lot of software principles like dry, do not repeat yourself. sadly, you will find that a lot with AI. It doesn't look at code and go, hey, I'm actually repeating myself here, I'm repeating myself there. Instead, it kind of is pretty ham-fisted with how it makes changes and adapts classes. It just kind of makes the changes and it will repeat itself within that function. And then if you prompt it to make a change, it will just go back into that function, make whatever changes it needs to, or class, and make whatever changes it needs to, and not worry about like, oh, hey, I should maybe make that a constant and, put that up there. And then I'm using that constant, 3 or 4 times and just referencing that. It doesn't really keep that context as well. And it does repeat itself within a lot of methods, which I can understand that could be a big criticism of AI. But hey, I'm not the one writing the code. The AI is, and it does it quite quickly. So, it wants us to use Google Cloud Vision. Need to update the OpenAI integration to handle images and audio files. Let me install the required package. Okay, so if we do apply all, it should include that. You don't have to click on all those buttons. So here it is, installing the dependency for Google Cloud Vision. So we can see that right here. Here are the changes, and we're going to hit OK. Okay, those changes are done. It's going to reload our page. Still keeping our user. That's nice. And let me go get an audio and image example. Okay, so I have a Game Monument explanation audio MP4A. It looks like that fits one of the file types. Okay, it still has the add to context button show up, so we'll have to make that change, make sure that it doesn't show up for audio, but we're going to hit the use to prompt. We're going to process it. Oh, we got an error processing the file. So we'll have to work with AI on that. But first, let's test out this image, which is just a Game Monument image of how it works. This is off of gamemonument.com. So I'm going to try dropping that. Got to scroll back up. I'm going to try, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. And we're going to drop in the image. Use the prompt. See if it can process that. Okay, it gave us back a result. Unlock the potential of game development, player engagement with it. Let's see. Let's compare it to the image. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that definitely does give us a good starting point. And then we could hit generate post off of that. Doesn't even mention Game Monument in it. Well, I guess the image doesn't either, so I can't really fault it for that. So something else we may want to do later is just really kind of hone in on different styles and tones. Right now, it's admittedly a little bit generic, even though we've got our voice document. We still need to kind of prompt it in terms of what type of tone we're looking for with these LinkedIn posts. So that's something else that we can add as a feature. Okay, so we're getting that file upload error with audio files. So let's go over to the assistant. And I put in a prompt. When I drop in an audio file, it says that it failed to process the file. So let's see what the assistant can do with that. It's been doing really good so far. So I'm not sure. Oh, I am sure actually. So Agent 3, I actually don't know what model they're using behind the scenes with that. I guess I could look that up. But the Claude 4.5 Sonnet, that's the one that I was used to with the actual agent over here. But the assistant is still using Sonnet. So that's good to know. Looking at the error, I can see the issue when you try an audio file. It is being rejected by the Multer, the file filter with unsupported file type. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. That'd be great if that was the problem. That looks pretty simple. Let's go back to the application once it's done applying and refreshes here. Okay. Got my file here. Let's go ahead and drop it onto here. Use to prompt. And we have that again. Let's Doesn't really matter too much, but let's just get a screenshot of it. So I just do a quick little screen grab. And I like to do that, copy that, paste that, and say, I'm still getting the error. And what it can also do is over here in the preview, we can go over to the web logs and we can kind of see more of the error. Sometimes the developer console that I've showed in previous videos, sometimes I can give you some good tips, but this one also is good, especially here in preview. When you're live, then you need to go over to the developer tools, which you can find under the dots here, more tools, developer tools. And well, let's just show that again. So when you open this up, you more want to be looking at this console right here. And you can kind of clear it out and then do your action, see what kind of comes up in the console. And you can also tell the AI to put in more logs to come up in the console so you can, kind of further inspect what's going on here. So we have 400 error. And here's the actual error that we're kind of looking for, unsupported, unrecognized file format. So it said it was going to address that, but perhaps there's something else going on here. Let's go back to the assistant. Found the issue. OpenAI whispered API does not recognize the file format being uploaded. So we're going to try this again. This may just be out of scope for the video. I don't want to grind on audio files too much. Honestly, I don't think it's that big of a use case. I was just trying to kind of mimic what I've seen out there in the wild with kind of transcribing these things. I thought that'd be a nice feature, but we don't need to spend too much time with this and we can kind of move on. I thought the image was really cool, just kind of using image recognition and OCR technology to kind of grab what's in an image and then having ChatGPT then summarize that to make a post. I think that's a much or a document. I think that's a use case that will come up a lot more. So I think we can kind of move past this if this doesn't work. Or I could also work off camera and see if I can get it to work and then come back to you guys with it. Oh, well, look at that. Got it. So I used an M4A file, and I did that based off of a recording that I took of myself talking about Game Monument. So it really is just about me saying what Game Monument is, how it works, how it empowers video game developers, and how it can boost community engagement. This did a really good job summarizing it. So we sent this audio file up to ChatGPT via the OpenAI API, and it came back with this really nice summary to be able to generate a post. So much like what we just found out with the image. So, all right, hey, got it. It's awesome. I think that's super cool, honestly. This technology never ceases to just blow me away. I've also heard recently not to put hashtags in your LinkedIn posts. Me, like a nerd, I've been doing it still, so maybe I need to get with the times and not put hashtags at the bottom of my posts, so we can direct the AI to not put hashtags on here, because if we hit copy, it's going to end up in our post, but of course we can just remove them later, but we want to make this as super lazy and easy as possible. Game Monument is now live, and it's set to change the way game developers think about monetization. This platform empowers developers to sell in-game monuments directly to their players, and it goes on. I actually really like the tone of this. This is great. So I think we are well on our way to making a really nice, easy-to-use tool that anybody can take images, audio, documents, drop them in here, set a context, and also be able to make summaries of posts. And this is a really nice little SaaS that people could use instead of either building out their own custom chat GPT or using chat GPT to use it, because your file allotments really run out quickly with that. So having a kind of easier to use, cheaper solution to really just kind of hone in and solve a problem, that can be very attractive to people. So now that we got the file drop done, I'm actually going to flip the script a little bit and I'm going to see about removing this add to context. Now, the reason why we're going to do that is if we want this to be a piece of SaaS software that someone can just pick up and use, it's okay for your own internal tool and for yourself to have a button like that, but we don't want to confuse our users. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove these documents. Click delete and it will remove it from our database. So let's check our database just to confirm that. And there we go. It's gone from there. That's what we're looking for. And remove the last one here. And we go back to the database, refresh it, and we have no more records. Now, why are we doing that? We're doing that because we're actually going to have those documents be part of the SaaS software and not as something that people need to add. We don't want to confuse our users. We want to give them nice and easy features. And for an internal tool like we originally started, that's great. But since we want to kind of turn this into more of a piece of SaaS software that anybody can pick up and use, we want to make it simple. So we're going to be doing some modifications here to the program. And this is the JSON structure that we send to ChatGPT. And I don't think it matters if it's ChatGPT 5. I think it's just in general. So we're going to be manipulating what's called the system role, and the user role is what our actual prompt is doing. And if we look in our code, it is actually already doing that, but we're going to take some files and we're going to ask the assistant here to make these files just part of the prompt that we are going to send to the OpenAI API to ChatGPT. So we're going to do that kind of behind the scenes for our users. So I have a file here and it's, close to what we had before. I have changed the structure a little bit because off camera here, just from all the research that I was doing, I wanted to have the structure be as readable as possible for ChatGPT. So we have a phrases to avoid JSON, and I'm going to see if I can just, can I? Oh, yep. Okay, good. I usually copy and paste stuff, so I just want to see if I can drag and drop. So we have these phrases to avoid, and I'm going to say with this file, I want this to be in our database and used for every prompt, and for every prompt, include it sending to the API. It should be used in its own system entry in the JSON we send to the API. So let's see what it does with that and see if we can get that correct. It already has the system JSON as part of its data that it sends to the OpenAI API, so it shouldn't be too confusing here. Okay, it says it is going to do that. Where it may get confused is back on the preview. It may, still show it as a file here, so we'll have to address that as we go. And then we're going to remove the button later, but we do want to keep it so it can add our documents to our prompt, to kind of summarize them and add that to this post that we want to generate. So that's a great feature. We want to keep that. That's nice and easy. That makes sense. People can drop in image documents. If there's a bunch of text in an image, they can just plop that in there. We can create a post off that. That's a really nice feature. Okay, so it added it. Okay, so it hard-coded it. And that doesn't look like the entire JSON also. So I'm going to correct it. Okay, so I wanted to be specific that it's for the post generation and not the summary. I want it stored in the database, so I want it to be pulled in. So hopefully it can figure that out. So migration add system prompts table. Okay, Add a function to retrieve phrases to avoid system prompt. Modify the post generation to include this as a separate system message. Great. Yeah, I like that. That's a good change. We don't have to use what we had. Yeah, uploaded files. Great. Yeah, we have a separate table and then use that table to put into the system prompts. I agree with that move. That's cool. Creates a new system prompts table. Store that, loads it. Okay. Yeah, let's roll with that. Oh, let's get that shell command to run. Come on, shell command. Those can be the worst things to try to run in this environment. They fail all the time. Hopefully it gets it right. Come on, big money. Let's see if it shows up in our console here. No, I don't think so. It's still grinding away. Add constraints without truncating the table. Yes, truncate the table. So I don't know what it's grinding on here. Maybe that's a question that it is stuck on. But it's edited the code. And adding the system prompt. So I'm surprised. It looks like the SQL command ran. So I would think that we would have that table. But it is stuck on this shell command. So the assistant had issues with creating the system documents table, which was also the system prompts table. That's probably a table I don't need anymore. But I went with the Agent 3 to create an admin panel as well. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love me an admin panel. I love putting admin panels in all my SaaS products if at all possible. Just kind of makes things nice and easy to be able to do things that are live, especially with any sort of manipulation like this, instead of having to go into Replit and redeploy an application. It's really nice to have an admin panel, and I have an extensive one in Game Monument to kind of manage all the data that comes in and out and to be able to manipulate that data and change users or change monuments or whatever data may be. So we have an admin panel here, and I have not tested it yet, so I'll test it in front of you guys live. We can add a system document. Okay, we're going to choose a document here. Under my downloads, so I am going to choose my phrases to avoid JSON. And it looks like it kind of downloaded it here. Got a little preview. I'm going to try to, yep, I can put a little space in there. Okay, wow, interesting. So I can edit the document here if I want to. Let's create the document. Let's see what happens. Great, document created. It's been added successfully, because when I tried to add the document here in, the assistant or into Agent 3 over here, I don't know, it had trouble doing that. And I don't usually do that. I like to do that kind of in app and in tool. So let's check our database. Let's go to system documents, and there we go. We got ourselves a system document. Love it. Okay, so we can see it here, and I'm going to choose another one. Let's see. Phrase avoidance. So I came up with this one too, based off some other back and forth with ChatGPT and just some other things that I wanted in there. So this will allow us to keep refining our tool with, various phrases to avoid, words to avoid. We can add whatever we want in here. So this is an admin panel for us to do that. Very handy. We're going to drop in our voice document into the file drop, and we're going to add that to context since that is still working. And this would be the user-facing context document. We could change the wording on that. I'm going to think about that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But I'm going to keep this voice document added to context, and then that's going to be part of our prompts. I already had this added before, and I came up with this post right here. I think this is really good. We got our summary functionality working, and it works with audio, works with images, and it works with documents. And we have added our context here, and we are coming up with really good posts. We have our admin panel to edit our phrases and other words that we want the AI to avoid. That's looking great. I'm really proud of what we've come up with so far. I don't know about you, but I am pumped to see what else we can add to make this a successful SaaS business. We don't want to go too crazy though. We want an accessible, easy to use, and understandable piece of software that solves a specific problem. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, and as always, the code is in my school community, the Codeless Collective. We'll see you in the next one.